UFO turns off nuke warheads and shoots test missiles out of the sky at bases. Retired U.S. Air Force ICBM launch officer Robert Salas testified about a UFO that turned off nuke warheads and shot test missiles out of the sky at the Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana, in 1967. The UFO division at the Pentagon is looking into old allegations of unexplained objects tampering with important nuclear missile silos. So they're going back to find out what was going on. Last month, 2 Air Force veterans testified about their encounters. Specifically, these encounters had to do with the UFOs tampering with U.S. nuclear missiles at the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO for short. In response to a scary encounter with an orange flying disc that mysteriously shut off 10 warheads at Malmstrom Air Force Station, Montana in 1967, retired U.S. Air Force ICBM launch officer Robert Salas was contacted by AARO employees, according to one email. Dr. Robert Jacobs, another retired officer, has informed AARO about a 35mm film he recorded for the Air Force in 1964 that purportedly shows a flying saucer firing a test missile out of the sky. The testimony provide the unique look into the frequently secretive work done by the federal agency responsible with looking into unexplained phenomena in the area, the air, sea, and space. So these 2 Air Force veterans said they have testified about their experiences of UFO interfering with U.S. nuclear missiles. Some of the encounters were at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. And the U.S. Air Force ICBM launch officer, Robert Salas, told of his encounter with an orange flying disc that turned off 10 warheads at Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana in 1967. Dr. Robert Jacobs, another former Air Force officer, briefed the office of his footage that allegedly caught a flying saucer shooting a test missile out of the sky. According to the author Robert Hastings, who has already spoken to 167 veterans about more than 100 UFO visits at nuclear weapons sites during the Cold War era and beyond, AARO Director Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick is also interviewing 9 more witnesses of these related events. Hastings published a book titled UFOs and Nukes: Extraordinary Encounters at Nuclear Weapons Sites. He claimed that in a blog post published on Sunday that Kirkpatrick has asked him to put Salas, Jacobs, and other witnesses in touch with them after one of the anonymous Senate staffers who read the book has suggested it to the director of AARO for investigation. After decades of having his narrative either disregarded or denied by the government, Salas, who is 82 years old now, says he was impressed by the outreach. "I've been wanting to tell the government agency my story for over 50 years, Salas said. It was a great big relief. They were very magnanimous, they listened intently. I gave them complete report on the Malmstrom incidents. I am more confident now than I was going in that they are trying to make a sincere effort." Salas received an email on Friday from AARO employee thanking him for providing evidence of the UFO to the UFO office. He said, "I want to pass along a big thank you from AARO team." The email said, "Your dedication to this issue and the resources, time, and energy you invested in researching and documenting your experience and associated events are greatly appreciated," they said. "I'm glad we're finally able to document this accounting and evidence into the intelligence record and will include this information in our investigation as an authorized disclosure IAW." That means in accordance with the FY23 NDAA National Defense Authorization Act. They said, "I'm hopeful the collective contributions of patriots like you and the current level of government interest and investment will provide answers to the questions the citizens of our country have demanded for such a long time," end quote. When asked about the frightening and mysterious shutdown of U.S. nukes at his Maelstrom facility during the open congressional UFO hearing in May, Salas expressed his rage that Pentagon superiors appeared to be uninformed of it in an interview from the previous year. Kirkpatrick's interest in the 1967 Maelstrom case might be attributed to the 2023 NDAA, the yearly defense budget bill, which was signed into law with the amendment mandating AARO to study government records on all UFOs encounters going back to 1945. The email shows AARO staff contacted former U.S. Air Force ICBM launch officer Robert Salas to gather information about his encounter, and he tweeted his thanks in an email from AARO. "I've been wanting to tell a government agency my story for 50 years. It was a great big relief. Maelstrom and other nuclear silos were in the vicinity of the allegedly Chinese spy balloon that American fighter aircraft shot down last month, which apparently prompted increased security at those locations." On Friday, Salas tweeted about his correspondence with the AARO representative, and UFO researcher David Haith posted a link to it on Twitter. Hastings said in his blog post that he had a conference call on January 13 with Kirkpatrick, 2 additional AARO employees, and a congressional researcher. He then connected them with 11 veterans to provide evidence regarding the alleged interference of UFOs with America's nuclear defenses. Since 1973, I have interviewed 167 of those veterans regarding their experience, Hastings said. Kirkpatrick asked whether I would be able to contact the individuals with whom I am still in touch to learn whether they would be willing to testify before AARO staffers. I suggested that Kirkpatrick's staff first contact former U.S. Air Force ICBM launch officer Bob Salas, who had been on duty during that incident at Maelstrom Air Force Base, Montana, on March 24th, 25th, 1967, when an orange disc-shaped UFO had briefly hovered over the front gate at the Oscar Flight Launch Control Facility. Seconds after one of Salas's security police guards frantically called down to the launch capsule to report the UFO to him, all 10 of the ICBMs dropped offline one after the other. In other words, they were unlaunchable, and it took several hours to repair and retarget them. Despite the military conducting an inquiry and compiling numerous reports, no cause for the shutdown of the missiles was discovered. Salas and his co-workers stated that they were examined at the time by agents from the Air Force Office of Special Investigations and made to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements in other words. Salas and other former military officers attended a televised press conference in Washington, D.C., warning about the supposed grave security threat presented by reports of weird disks and spheres appearing to fly over U.S. nuclear plants with impunity, breaking his silence about the incident in 1996. Jacob said he was told to keep quiet about the footage by his boss, Major Florence J. Mansman, who viewed it with him in a meeting with 2 CIA officers in the days after the incident. Mansman, who died in 2000, confirmed the account in May 1987 letter to UFO researcher. Ex-First Lieutenant Robert Jacobs, pictured here as well, you can see their pictures in the article. Another former Air Force member, Jacobs, led a telescopic camera crew that documented test missile launches at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California in the 1960s. He provided testimony before AARO this month. He asserts that he watched video of a launch on September 15, 1964, in which a disc approached a moving missile, fired a series of beams at it, then sped away, knocking the dummy warhead to the ground. "We watched the third stage burn out, and into the frame came something else," the former Lieutenant 84 said in a 2000 video interview. It flew into the frame and it shot a beam of light at the warhead. Now remember, all of this stuff is flying at several thousand miles an hour. So this thing fires a beam of light at the warhead, hits it, and then it moves up, fires another beam of light, then goes down, fires another beam of light, and then flies out the way it came in, and the warhead tumbles out of space. The object, the point of lights that we saw, the warhead and so forth, were traveling through subspace about 60 miles straight up, and they were going somewhere in the neighborhood of 11,000 to 14,000 miles an hour when this UFO caught up with them, flew in, flew around them, and flew back out. And now I saw that. I don't give a goddamn what anyone else says about it. I saw that on film and I was there, he said. Major Florence Mansman, Jacob's boss, who watched the film with him in a conference with 2 CIA agents in the days following the incident, allegedly instructed him to stay quiet about it. In a May 1987 letter to UFO researcher Scott Crane, Mansman, who passed away in 2000, verified the account and claimed to have watched the film 4 times before the CIA agents sent it to an unidentified location on the East Coast. The Pentagon opened the new UFO division named ARO just last year. I ordered Lieutenant Jacob not to discuss what he saw with anyone because of the nature of the launch, the failure of the launch mission, and the probability that the optical instrumentation, the film, showed an interference with normal launch patterns, Mansman wrote. The object was saucer-shaped, he said. I released the film to the chief scientist. I found it to be the most sensitive, the most honest, the most welcoming interview that I've ever had regarding this subject, he said. At the end of our chat, I said, I've been trying for over 40 years to get the government to listen to my testimony, and you just did. The government finally listened. I'm not sure who they're going after next, but I have great faith in this organization, as much as I've had in any government. Regarding his dealings with the UFO office, Hastings declined to be questioned. So this is good news. They're going back to all UFO incidents all the way back to 1945. I guess that's before the Roswell crash, which was July 4th, 1947, to look at what was going on. It's because of the China balloon going all over the place, the spy balloons. So this is on Great Game India. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box